Hello world! Today I have a single action revolver to show you. It is chambered in 22 long rifle. I got it specifically for the purposes of just owning a single action revolver, seeing what they're like, seeing if I like them, and this was a cheap option. Now that I've owned them for a little bit, I can say I love them, and I will most likely get one in 45 long Colt. And it's such a good looking revolver, and there's so many intricate little details I want to talk about this revolver. We're going to skip to the close-up portion, but first I want to talk about just this revolver's safety functions real fast in the far-away portion. And basically, this gun is very old, so the rules for it are very old. You'd think that you should never lay your finger on a trigger unless you're ready to fire. And that's typically true of all firearms, and it's a widespread rule that typically keeps everyone safe. However, with these revolvers, especially some of the older collectible ones, all your safety is going to be focused on this hammer. Some of the older revolvers rest the hammer directly on the primer of a bullet. So if it loads 6, it carries 5. It's all about an empty chamber. It's all about some weird stuff, and that's why you also see in old cowboy films when they're always doing stuff like this. It's because that's actually not that dangerous. They're more worried about what's going to happen with the hammer to fire it. So if you have anyone older in your family that messes with these revolvers all the time or remembers them or anything like that, and you go out and buy one, go ahead and ask them about it. Go ahead and ask them how it is that they carry these revolvers safely. And it's all about this hammer portion. So we're going to go to the close-up portion now so that we can talk a little bit more about this gun and view it close up. So need a screen wipe. Come on up here. Alrighty then. We're into the up-close portion now of the 22 long rifle single-action revolver. That's a mouthful to say. I don't know which company makes this, but I can guarantee you it's not Glock or Taurus or any of those companies. These are mostly made out of sporting interests. They're not serious guns that you'd actually expect to use for anything. The most practicality I can imagine getting out of this gun is filling it full of rat shot and going on some exterminating around the farm or something. And these guns are amazing to own because they just look so beautiful. The grips fit so snugly in the hand. The way you naturally tend to move your wrist up and down typically puts the barrel at perfect level with whatever target you're facing. It's just amazing how well they knew the human body when they made these guns. You don't have to adjust anything to fire this gun accurately. Your body's naturally built to fire this gun accurately. So let's talk about how to load this gun. Step 1 for loading is you open your little door and you listen to how far you pull back this hammer. You go 1, that's for carry. That's supposedly going to stop this hammer from engaging with your rounds, though most did not rely on that and they went ahead and carried with a cylinder empty. Then you go 2, that's your free floating so that you can spin the cylinder, that's half cocked. Next you'd find your little pumper up here, put your finger on it, and you'd begin to extract the old shells while loading in new shells. Or you might go through and extract all your old shells and then load in new shells. Either way, once you're ready to load in new shells, you go 1 shell, turn it, skip a chamber, go 4 shells, and then when you draw the hammer back the rest of the way and rest the hammer down on your empty chamber, and then pull it back once to let the trigger go forward, and that should be ready to carry. So you're on an empty chamber, the gun is not cocked, it's not engaging the empty chamber where a round could be, and you'd be ready to fire. Now this gun does have a safety, but that's a modern feature. On older firearms it probably won't have that safety if you're collecting them, or if you think you're going to get into collecting them, please keep that in mind. So basically when you're ready to fire, you just cock the hammer and pull the trigger. And if you were so inclined to do so, you could fan fire this, where you simply release the hammer multiple times to get it to fire a whole bunch of rounds. Real quick, let's watch me bumbling around in the cold trying to shoot this gun.
Alrighty then. Sorry I was so sloppy shooting that gun. It was very cold that day and my hands were going numb, so it was very difficult to manipulate one of these revolvers for me, especially with those tiny shells. But yeah, that was the Single Action 22 long rifle revolver. The sights on these are kind of built into the gun, so I typically don't tend to talk about them, and you really don't need them too bad. I mean, you're pointing the gun at a place, and once you got a feel for it, you can shoot it. Oh, I forgot takedown. I was getting ready to do the outro, silly me. For takedown, you push this button, pop out that pin, and drop the cylinder. Don't let it roll off the table, though. And then it's ready for cleaning. So, despite the convoluted way revolvers typically operate, this gun, despite the way they typically operate with the watch mechanics inside of them, revolvers are notorious for being easy to clean. So, and there you go. It's back in working order. This was Timber 22, and my not a review, just a let's look at the 22 long rifle single action revolver. You can buy them at typically any gun store, so if you think about owning one, it'll only set you back around $100, and I say they're a fun gun to shoot. This is Timber 22 saying for now, bye bye.